So it's a tough, and the world has got tougher for us to do that. So it's a huge challenge to keep the program going. Yeah.
On the funding side, have any of the foundations stepped up to have seen the value of using the arts to communicate environmental messages have? That was the first part. And then the second part of my question is, after 7 years, I heard you talking that the next step is to, because one of your next excursions is into the Amazon, and wondering if that, if you see yourself expanding into different regions with the same strategy.
Yeah. The foundations have been great, actually. I mean, they're challenged right now, but I don't know if I should mention, but the Compton, well, it's published, so the Compton Foundation, based here, they do exactly what you said, and it's the first time they've actually funded the arts program as part of the climate agenda. And that happens in the UK to Gulbenkian, and I mean, Esme Fairband, I mean, quite a lot of the trusts understand it and get it as well. I think, we're establishing that is a reality, and it's a very, very powerful voice. The amount of numbers, I mean, somebody calculated in the office that I think our exhibition has been seen by 830,000 people worldwide. Those are big numbers and big engagement. So it is work, whatever we're doing is working, and that's helping the whole process go forward. What was the second part of the question? Oh, what's next? The Andes is very interesting to us. First of all, the glaciers on the Andes are really retreating incredibly fast, or they're melting incredibly fast. And when you think the places like Lima and Peru, their whole drink water, their whole water supply, their irrigation water supply is dependent on those glaciers. So you're kind of stacking up, in quite near history, a real stress point that it's going to be amplified. So we're looking at the glaciers. But we're, again, following the science. So the ECI, based in Oxford, have been in position and have got scientific stations through the cloud forest for the last 5 years. And they've been wanting us to be part of that because they're doing great work, but again, not many people are knowing about it. So they want to work with us in order to get that work out. What they do is to measure the breathing in and out of the trees. And they actually, I didn't realize this, but bark of trees actually breathe in and out. And it's quite a beautiful kind of piece of science they're doing. The current, I mean, this has only come out for the last few weeks, but the information coming out is that if you get a forest that's stressed by drought, it actually becomes a carbon emitter rather than an absorber. I mean, which then you kind of go, wait a minute, this is really upping the ante, something quite extraordinary. So that kind of work by the ECI is very important to us. And then again, it's a fantastic thing for us to get involved in. But culturally, we do, I mean, when, we've taken pretty much every, I think we sort of about 15 or 16 nationalities have been part of our program. So although it's the Arctic, we are dealing with many people around the world. Yeah, sorry.
So what is your strategy for cultural shift?
Yeah, it's interesting. In a way, as I said, that you can't strategize that you will achieve a cultural shift within 5, 3, 1 year. It's a much more organic kind of transformation. And you have to trust that process. And the process has been unbelievably effective in terms of number, the amount of influence we've had. And we do surveys from people, and so they say, well, okay, this has really made me think differently about the whole thing. So it is effective. But actually to say I have a strategy and say with goals attached, then it becomes much more, you can't do that. It's not part of the stratagem. And you have to accept, or you have to trust that the process works. Historically, there have been some major cultural shifts which actually happened in a very short period of time. And therefore, it could be the most powerful weapon we have in also achieving a result in terms of climate. But, like Ian's book, it took, I couldn't, he wanted to do it. It took him 3 years to figure out how to do it. But then what a big sort of voice in terms of the whole thinking and the whole climate movement. Yeah, sorry. Oh, sorry.
One of the conundrums I come up with as a parent is talking positively about something that's inherently discouraging. And I think that's an interesting, to have young people feel
Yeah.
that it's a doable
Yeah.
thing. It can be very scary to talk to
Yeah.
young people who are just coming into the
Yeah.
point of feeling
Yeah.
like they can do something. And I think you're in a very interesting position there.
It's, it's just about the effect that this whole argument or discussion or the media is having on young people and how they're reacting to climate. There was a French film that's just been shown to every school child in France, which scares the shit out of me and really scares them. And apparently there's been a huge nightmare situation of youngsters. I mean, it is so irresponsible, doing that anyway. But actually, our message is, it is quite a positive message. It doesn't have to be, the ante is very large. We have huge responsibility and the numbers, this is something that is going to affect us. But actually, the message is positive. It is shifting culture. And there are many things we do with our current culture which are just like, why are we doing it this way? Let's shift it, and I won't make examples because it'll be political, but, you don't need much imagination to figure out where I stand. But, there are certain solutions that everybody's using that are just not working. And they cost a phenomenal amount of money. So let's put that energy into creative technologies, which, they're just all sitting there on the kind of waiting to be given the tap of money to really develop and brilliant stuff. It goes from carbon sequestration to the kind of, you can just go through the gamut, just generating energy in hundreds of ways. There's talking about, making DC lines of carrying electricity. AC lines actually lose a lot of the energy, so you can't transmit energy for long distances. But there's a plan which has been offered by the Germans to actually create the deserts of the Sahara as actually generators of energy. And if you put it through a DC line, you can transfer it to Northern Europe without losing the energy. It just needs investment. The example I give is that, we had cholera and typhoid 200 years ago. And then somebody said, well, actually, it's connected to this drinking water. We're dumping all the sewage into the rivers, into our drinking water, and there's a connection, and people didn't believe it. But the infrastructure cost of actually taking the sewage away and managing that process was huge. They ripped London apart to do that. So then it worked, and everybody said, well, we wish we'd done this earlier. So this, that is the kind of the scale of the problem. We just got to shift from this place to this place. And therefore, positive message for youngsters, yeah. We do a lot of education work, and it is all, let's engage, let's do positive here. Not hiding from the reality, but actually kind of go, look, you can do something. And actually, the kids are the best weapon we've got against the parents. Why do I have to drive around in this horrible 4x4? It's embarrassing, Dad. They're good. Their kids are good. Sorry, yeah. It's just evaluating art versus science in terms of the whole kind of a process of actually achieving, the kind of things we have to achieve. One of the odd benefits, and I'm really passionate about this, is one of the real great benefits of climate change is it's brought the scientific community together with the cultural community. We used to work very closely together 100, 120 years ago. There was amazing cross-referencing between the artistic brain and the scientific brain, and that was a really exciting period, and it's brought it back together. And I personally absolutely, I love working with scientists. I didn't show you any of the scientific experiments that run, but you'd look at them and you think that is the most elegant piece of sculpture I've ever seen in my life. On a global scale, it's really, really beautiful. So I think just putting the two together actually is the start of that debate and that kind of communication. But we've really got to, both of us, to get together and actually influence the politicians and actually influence this shift. But for me, it's positive.